Welcome to Notebook Videos. In this session, we shall be discussing the meaning and structure of judiciary as an independent system in a country. We shall also be looking into how the judiciary functions in protecting the Constitution. Introduction. Judiciary is the independent authority which settles any dispute between private or public parties and individuals. Judiciary is the part of government which is a powerful arm providing protection to Constitution of a country. Judiciary also protects the fundamental rights of an individual. Why do we need an independent judiciary? Judiciary is the deciding body which settles disputes following the principal rule of law. This rule of law applies to all individuals. It implies that every citizen is equal before the law. Thus, to maintain the supremacy of law and to protect the rule of law, the judiciary is kept independent of any political pressures. Judiciary as independent authority also means it can deliver justice with no interference from executive and legislative organs of the government. Judges work in absence of fear or favors. Next, we look into the judges' appointments. The Indian Constitution ensures the independence of the judicial system. This independence of judicial system is ensured by the following ways. The legislature is not involved in the appointment of the judges. Judges have a fixed tenure and can hold office for a fixed time period till their retirement. The removal of a judge is not an easy process. Judicial allowance and salary is not dependent on executive approval. They are also free from personal criticism. Conduct of judges cannot be discussed by Parliament except when a proceeding of removal of judge is on process. Next, we come to the appointment of judges. Council of Ministers, Governors, Chief Ministers and Chief Justice of India all impact this process of judicial appointment. It is a part of political process. Conventionally, the senior-most judge of the Supreme Court is appointed as the Chief Justice of India. However, there has been two exceptional cases, the appointment of A.N. Rai in 1973 and Justice M.H. Beg. The other judges of the Supreme Court and the High Court are appointed by the President after consulting the Chief Justice of India. This consultative position was debated in the years 1982 and 1998. Supreme Court then established the principle of collegiality that the Chief Justice must recommend appointments in consultation with four senior-most judges of court. Removal of judges. Judges of the Supreme Court or High Court are removed from office only in cases of misbehavior or incapacity. It has been observed that without a general consensus amongst the members of Parliament, a judge cannot be removed. A motion in Parliament containing all the relevant and noted charges against the judge is to be approved by a special majority in both houses of the Parliament, Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha. Now we come to the structure of the judiciary. India has a single integrated judicial system. India does not have separate state courts. The pyramidal structure has Supreme Court at the top, high courts below them, with district and subordinate courts at the lowest level. Next is the Supreme Court and its jurisdiction. The Supreme Court, though extremely powerful, functions within the limitations set by the Indian Constitution. It has three specific scope of jurisdiction: original, appellate and advisory. Jurisdiction of Supreme Court. Original. Original jurisdiction means cases which are directly considered by the Supreme Court without going to the lower courts. It is umpire in all disputes regarding federal matters. It is original jurisdiction because Supreme Court alone has the power to deal with such cases. Thus, Supreme Court settles disputes while interpreting powers of union and state government as laid down in the Constitution. Next is the jurisdiction power of writ. Jurisdiction of Supreme Court writ. An individual whose fundamental rights are violated can directly approach Supreme Court for remedy. Special orders in the form of writs are provided to such individuals. Both Supreme Court and High Court give orders to the executive to act or not act in certain way in such cases. Next is power of appellate jurisdiction. Jurisdiction of Supreme Court appellate. Appellate jurisdiction for Supreme Court is the power of the Supreme Court to reconsider a case and the legal issues involved. Though High Court must decide the fitness of a case for appeal, the Supreme Court can overrule that decision too. Thus, Supreme Court tries appeals from lower courts in civil, criminal and constitutional cases. We now get to the advisory power of jurisdiction of Supreme Courts. Jurisdiction of Supreme Court advisory. With advisory jurisdiction, President of India can refer any matter of public importance that involves interpretation of the Constitution to Supreme Court for advice. Supreme Court is not bound to give advice, neither is President bound to accept such advice. Jurisdiction of Supreme Court special powers. The Supreme Court has the authority to grant special leave to an appeal from any judgment or legal matter passed by any court in the territory of India. Let us quickly revise what we have learned so far. Judiciary is the authority deciding any dispute between private or public parties and individuals. Judiciary is an independent authority separate from political pressures. Independence of judicial system is ensured by Constitution in appointment of judges, security of tenure, with a very difficult procedure for the removal from office. India has a single integrated judicial system. Cases which are directly considered by the Supreme Court is original jurisdiction. Special orders or writs are provided to individuals with rights violation and is called writ jurisdiction of Supreme Court. Supreme Court tries appeals from lower courts in civil, criminal and constitutional cases from power of appellate jurisdiction. President of India refers any matter of public importance to Supreme Court for advice is called advisory jurisdiction. We have come to the end of the first part of this interactive session. Hope you have understood our discussion so far. We shall discuss the remaining portion of the chapter in the next part.